Hey everybody, this is Waldie191 for HUSNG.com, and this is going to be a video on the winning poker network. We're going to play two $33 heads-up turbo singos, and it says real time, and I tried to do it as close to real time as I could, but I recorded it, and I'm going to go back over it and talk about the logic behind what we do, and I wanted to go back so I could pause, so I didn't have to. The time bank's pretty short, so anyway, let's just get to it. I played two matches. The first one's against some random. It's a $33 turbo heads up, and as most of you know by now, Black Chip Poker has switched to the winning poker network. So I thought I'd do a video just to show you what the site looks like right now, and just how the software works and stuff like that, and what maybe you can kind of expect from a normal opponent this level. So anyway, this is the first hand where I've ended up doing two matches. I did all of this one, but it went pretty quick. So I started the second match starts, I think like 30 hands in. I'll talk about it more when we get to it, but this one went pretty quick, so I wanted to do another one just to show the structure, and it's just like PokerStar structure, if I remember correctly, for turbo sit-and-goes, heads-up sit-and-goes. But anyway, let's get started. First hand, 7-9. We made it 50 pre, and he calls. Pretty standard. I think 2.5 times is a lot better than 3 times. It's at above 40 big blinds. But anywho, we flop a good flop, middle pair with a flush draw. He checked to us. That's another thing about this site. There is no shark scope coverage of this site, so you can't look people up or whatever. So I don't know anything about him, whatever. I don't know who it is, or I've never seen him before, ever. So, it is what it is. I don't really know much about him or whatever, but this is a good flop to go ahead and c-bet. I decided to do half pot. Now he check calls. If I thought he was a better player, or better than normal as far as general population, I would donk bet if I was him and I had Jack X or 6-9 or Jack 9 or pocket sixes. I would flat pre or whatever. I would go ahead and donk that, because you want to get value. You want to donk it on this flop like this, because most of the time people are going to check back that flop because they probably should. But anyway, we go ahead and c-bet. I mean, we hit it pretty hard, and we have the flush draw. He calls. I really don't know. I can't really put him on a range yet. I don't really know. I don't know anything about him, so we just kind of gotta play standard and adjust as we go. When the queen of diamonds comes on the turn, he checks it. I mean, I decide to check it back because I want to get value from like queen X, or maybe a straight or 2 pair, smaller diamonds, and I don't want to bet here and blow the pot and have him check raise, because then that's going to put us in a pretty tough spot. And also, if I check back the turn and a blank comes on the river, he could have like ace of diamonds or king of diamonds and no diamonds and bluff the river, and we can call a pretty decent sized bet. I mean, we have a strong hand here, so I think checking it back the turn is the best. So we do, and he leads out for half on the river. I mean, it's pretty much a snap call. There's no point in raising, really, because I don't see him call, excuse me, call him with much worse. And he could shove on us with, like, the nuts, so calling, I think, is the best play here by far. So we do, and he okay, so I'd say this is worth noting. I think Jack 5's a little too loose to call pre. I think Jack 7 off would be the worst Jack I would flat. Maybe Jack 5 or Jack 6 suited I would 3-bet the first hand. I think that's fine. But I think Jack 5 off's not a good hand to call with, first hand, readless, whatever. It's pretty loose. And more importantly, if I had, say I did call with the Jack 5 or whatever, I would donk bet this flop for sure, just to get some value for my hand and get value from a hand like mine. And he's got a flush draw. I mean, he should donk bet that flop, and he didn't, so that's maybe worth some kind of little note or whatever. He's probably not a great player based on how he played this, is what I mean. So anyway, we win a decent pot there to start. That's good. Jack 8 I would have called there. Yeah, I made a little note, I think. He flatted Jack 5. A little too wide. Check called the flop. Here we raise 9-10 to 50. Standard C bet half pot. And he folds. So yeah, he's already called both of our button raises so far. Worth being aware of. 10-8, definitely good enough to flat. And that's another thing that's important too. I think I see people do this too. They know 10-8's pretty good suited or whatever, like it flops great and all that. So they 3-bet it pre here. And I mean, yeah, that's alright, but it's actually not, because we want to keep hands like this in our flatting range, because that's how ranges affect other ranges. Like if we're 3-betting 10-8 suited, then the opponent's going to take it out of our flatting range, rightfully so. So, I mean, we have to have some kind of flatting range, and I mean, I think 10-8 suited is a perfect one to keep in there. Like I think, like I said earlier, Jack 6 suited, for example, is a good hand to 3-bet bluff with, but 10-8 suited, really, you're not really 3-bet bluffing, but you are kind of too. So just flat hands like 10-8 suited, 10-9, whatever, Queen 8, just keep them in your flatting range. We gotta have a flatting range. So anyway, we hit middle pair on a. Oh yeah, there's my note. Okay, we hit middle pair on a somewhat pretty dry, but not super dry. I don't see any point in check raising here. I mean, he c-bets half pot. I think it's a pretty standard flat. I think the best thing to do is just check, and I would call. I'm prepared to call up to like probably at least 100 here, because I know that. Now I don't know if he knows this or what. I don't know anything about him really, but I know that a Jack of Diamonds here is a good turn barrel bluff card. So I have to assume, until I find out differently, that he would know that too. So that being said, he should be bluffing here a lot if he bets. So we have to call it again. So he bets 80, so I think it's pretty much an easy call there. Now, I mean, that's a pretty bad card, really. Like the flush draw got there, that's going to hit a ton of his. He's probably got a pair higher than 8, honestly. If he raised pre, bet the flop and turn. Ace 10 got there, 9-10 got there. Like a bunch of stuff has gotten there. So I'm pretty much folding to anything here. Maybe like I might call like, I don't know, like definitely a min bet just to see, but I don't know. I'd have to just see him bet small to see. 7-3 definitely just a fold. And like I said earlier, queen 8, just keep it in our blatting range for now or whatever. Monster flop, I'm check raising that. If he bets, he didn't, so I gotta get some value. I think pretty standard here. If I was bluffing, I would bet like 65, just because I like to bet a little bit more. If I had like, I don't know, 8-9 or something, and maybe he could have king high or ace high and fold it, or 10 jack or something. But as is, we have a monster hand. We got to get some value for it, so we got to bet. 50 works. Okay, and there's our HUD popping up, so that's good. I would have had some trouble with that. So anyway, he insta folded, so that's worth keeping in mind too. He checked and then snap folded on a queen high flop. Queen 4 suited, we know it's the raise. Pretty interesting flop here. You got us now. My normal c betting size is 50 here, but the way the board is, and given the fact that earlier he checked top pair on a board like this, which it doesn't. I'm not saying that he's got top pair here. I'm saying that he would probably check the topper end of his range too, like his strong draws, whatever. So I'm going to bet a little bit more and expect to get called here, maybe raised quite a bit. So I go with 60 instead of 50. And then he leads out the turn for 110 for half pot. Now, he could have 9-10 or like 10 jack or something. But that's fine. I mean, the only thing we're really worried about, obviously, is like he probably would have 3-bet pocket jacks. He probably doesn't have. He probably would have 3-bet 10s. We have a 4, so he probably doesn't have 3 4s. A queen, so he probably doesn't have 3 queens. He could have a flush, but I mean that's just cooler, you know. That's the way it is. I think he would have 3-bet ace king, and I think 8-9 is highly unlikely. So, I mean, we have to raise here, no question. No matter, the question is how much, and I decided to go to make it, what I do, 380, I think. Yeah, okay, so we make it 380, and now he's got a decision, because he has to know that we have a pretty strong range here, and given his stack size, I mean, he's got to call 270 more, so I would expect him to jam like, well, I don't know, he might flat a flush draw. I don't know this guy. But we probably could have made it a little bit more. But now, if we're never folding, no matter what he does. If on the turn here, like if he shoves here, I'm calling. As is, he flats. So now there's 1,000 in there. He's got 880 left, and that's why I like that size too. Because anything a whole lot more than that is going to leave him with a little bit less and the pot a little bit bigger. But now we can shove the river or bet pot, and it puts him all in, and it's about the same size. And I like to set it up that way. I think it looks a little bit weaker whenever, like in this spot, if we are trying to make it look like we missed a flush or whatever, or on a stone bluff. I think it looks weaker. But anyway, this is kind of a sucky card for us, really, because now an 8 beats us, a king beats us, which he could easily have the king of diamonds for sure, or any other king for that matter. He could have king queen, really, the way he played. So I think he would have probably got it in on the turn with like a 2-pair hand that we beat, like a 10 jack or a jack 4 is rare but possible. Just hands like that, 10-4 maybe. That's unlikely too though. But so that I would rule those hands out as far as getting value from them if we shove here, or if we decide to bet like 300. But I don't see the point in that. I think he's either gonna probably shove or fold, and shove if we're beat, whatever. But he could have a lot of kings here, and he could have an 8 for sure. So I don't know if he would just donk jam a king or an 8 here. Probably not an 8, probably a king. But anyway, I decided to go ahead and check it back. I mean, the pot's already huge, and it's just a bad card. If he's got a king, then it's minimal damage, and we made him pay for it, which I'm okay with. So we decided to go ahead and check it back. We got plenty of value, I think. And that's one thing that kind of sucks about this site. You can't go back and look. At least I haven't figured out how. Go back and look what he mucked here, which is kind of lame. But there's a lot of little things about this network that I'm not a big fan of. But I think once it grows, it'll be a little bit better, hopefully. But anyway, so that was good. We won a big pot there, 2-pair. I think we played it pretty well. We get walked kings, no big deal. Pretty standard here. We're down to 30 deep. Pretty standard. He hasn't 3-bet yet, so I mean we're only 8 hands in, so I don't know. I would assume his 3-betting range would be pretty tight here, but he could be tilting a little bit. That's what we don't know, if he whiffed the draw or what. But anyway, Queen Jack's definitely good enough to call with, so we do. And we hit great flop. Pretty dry. Top pair. Now, if we had like Jack, I don't know, like Jack 9 or Jack X here, or 8-9, or Queen King, or hands like that, I would shove here for sure. Because I think A, we have a lot of fold equity, and B, even if he does call, I mean, we have a ton of outs. As it is, with us having the queen, which is an overcard, I think it's better to flat here. The only cards we don't want to see on the turn are a king or an ace. So, and I think he might stack off like on a bunch of random turns with air or with something stupid like pocket fours or something, which he would fold here if we shove. So I mean, it's pretty unlikely an ace or king is going to come on the turn, and we get some value out of him bluffing. So I think it's okay to flat here. Plus we have a queen. If a queen comes, that's fine. So we just flat. So 4 clubs comes. Now, you can't, I think checking here is a big mistake, because you do not want to give him a free chance to make a flush or a straight or just anything to beat our hand, a king or an ace mainly. So we go ahead and shove, and I think I hit all in, but I think it's better because it looks weaker than if we type in like 500. So he folds, so he just gave up. So now, okay, we're 17 deep. Six three is a pretty easy fold there. It's just not good enough to continue. Any 2 suited's good enough to raise here. Now, getting down to, I think I start using Raffle, which if you haven't used it or don't know what it is, I highly recommend it. It's basically a default, I guess, guide to playing like 8 to, I think I use it 8 to 14 big blinds deep on the small blind. It just gives you an idea of limping ranges and open shoving, stuff like that. But it's in Merz's ebook if you haven't read that. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend reading it. But anyway, I think we're a little bit deeper, too deep to start doing that. So I just have a normal opening range here, and 3/8 suit is good enough for men. And great flop to c-bet, and we do have pot. I would expect him to fold there a ton. Yeah, he folds to us, so I would have called with the Jack-8 there if he min-raised. Now, I think here's where I start to, at 15, I start to limp hands like this. I'm limping 10-8 off, 10-9 off, 10-7 off. Like Jack-9 off to Jack-6 off, Queen-9 off to Queen-5 off, King-6, 5-4 off, and then a few suited hands like Queen-7, Queen-6, Queen-5. There's a whole chart of all that to give you a good starting point. But anyway, 10-8. Starting around 15 I think is okay. You could wait till 14, but I think 15's fine. So we limp, and he snap jams, so we fold. Now he's just open shoving, or he did there, and he shoved over our limp last time too, so 3-2, that's a fold. Just not quite good enough. Now if he's been open shoving or whatever, if he open shoves here, I'm snap calling with pocket fives. I think that's pretty straightforward. And over min raise, I'm gonna 3-bet shove. Pretty standard. If he limped, I would have shoved too. Now ace 2, I think it's an open shove. I think that's the best option here. And we get called by King Jack. Hopefully we hold. And we do. Okay. So yeah, that guy wasn't all that great. Again, we couldn't see what he mucked on the Queen Jack 4 flop. Diamond, diamond, diamond. So, I don't really know. That's kind of a big negative with me on this site, but it is what it is, so.